Good day, grade 12 learners. Welcome to today's geography lesson. My name is Nomthandazo Malembe. This lesson is brought to you by the Northern Cape Department of Education in collaboration with Phakama Research and Development. So today, learners, we're going to focus on the primary sector, which is agriculture. But before we start with our lesson, I just want us to go through our lesson objective for today. By the end of this lesson, learners, you should be able to know the contribution of agriculture to the South African economy. Then secondly, we're going to look at the small scale farming versus the large scale farming. Then we will be looking at the main products which are produced in South Africa in terms of the home market as well as your export market. And then lastly, we're going to look at the food security as well as its significance or its importance. Then we're going to start with our pre-knowledge baseline as we normally do. So I'm taking you back to grade 8 and 9 where we have learned about the types of farming. So number one, we said there are different types of farming in South Africa, such as your subsistence as well as the arable and your pastoral as well as your commercial farming. So these are all the types of farming we have learned in grade 8 and 9. Then secondly, we're talking about the arable farming that only involves in the cultivation of crops for warm climates. Then number 3, we're looking at the pastoral farming is the type of farming in South Africa that includes the rearing of the animals only in cold as well as wet climates. Then agriculture, it includes the cultivation of the soil for the growing of the crops as well as the breeding of animals to provide food as well as wool and other products. So let us see what questions do we have in our baseline activity. So it says use the pre-knowledge baseline and your own knowledge to answer the following questions. The first one, you explain what agriculture includes for 2 marks. Then secondly, you give 2 reasons for breeding animals. Then number 3, you name 4 types of farming. Then number 4, you differentiate between the arable farming as well as the pastoral farming. So I'm going to give you 6 minutes to work on these 4 questions, and then after 6 minutes, we will be able to do the solutions. Right? Grade 12, looking at our first question, you explain what is agriculture includes. We said agriculture, it includes the cultivation of the soil for the growing of crops as well as breeding of animals. Then secondly, the 2 reasons for breeding animals. Remember, we breed animals so that we can it can provide us with food as well as with wood and also other products. So it was only 2 reasons. It's either you said for food reasons or wool reasons or other products. Then number 3, you name the 4 types of farming. We have subsistence farming, the arable farming, your pastoral farming, as well as your commercial farming. Then number 4, differentiate between your arable farming as well as your pastoral farming. Arable farming, we said it involves the cultivation of crops in warm climates. Then your pastoral is the type of farming in South Africa that include the rearing of the animals only in cold as well as your wet climate. Then we're looking at our terminology for today. So these are the terms that we'll come across in our lesson. Number 1, we're looking at the intensive farming. What is intensive farming? We are saying is the type of agriculture, both the crop plants as well as of the animal. So this is the type of farming that involves the 2, which is the crops planting as well as the animal, with the higher level of input. I've even put it in red because this is where the emphasis is. The high level of input and output per unit of agricultural land area. So what does it mean? It means this type of farming, there is more work that has been put in as compared to the outcome. Then number 2, you have the extensive farming. Extensive farming is the agricultural production system that uses a small input of labor, fertilizers, capital relative to the land area being farmed. So uses a small input of labor. What does it mean? It means there is less hard work in this type of farming. Most of the things are done using the machines. So you get to know the difference between intensive and extensive. So I always tell my learners that look at there is in, it means there is more work that has been put in. And then X, it means there is less work that has been put in, because you need to know thoroughly the difference between these two. Then we're looking at our contribution of agriculture to the South African economy. What does agriculture contribute in terms of the economy? So number 1, we are saying it provides the growth to the economic sector as it provides raw material to the industry. So remember we said the agriculture is the farming. So through farming, it's where we're going to get our food. So therefore, there will be different products that will be serviced or that will be provided in this agriculture. And then if there are different products, it means now there will be also different industries that will be formulated. Then we're looking at it promotes growth in terms of the transportation sector by using a transport to receive agricultural goods. Remember, as raw as they are, they need to be transported into the secondary sector so that they can be manufactured and turned into a final product. So through the agriculture, it's where there will be a development of the infrastructure. Then we're also looking at it is a major employer of South Africans, and it is 19% of people who are directly or indirectly dependent on the agriculture for their income. Remember, there are those ones who are farming for business, and there are those ones who are farming for their families. So therefore, as you are farming for your family, it means now you spend less money in buying food. You are creating or you are planting your own food. So therefore, it's also part of the income. Then we're looking at it has been a good exporter. It derives the income from the countries that import South Africa's agricultural products. Remember, if we export more of the products, it means now we're going to have more income. So hence it is a good exporter. Then in terms of agriculture, we're going to have food production. Remember, because this is farming, we're talking about meat, we're talking about a variety of crops that give us food. And also, there will be people who will be hired in these industries. So therefore, jobs will also be catered for. And also, we said through agriculture, we will have the raw material that needs to be transported into different industries or into the secondary sector. So hence our road or our infrastructure, we will also develop. So it's another contribution. Then there will be industries that will be formulated because of agriculture, because they will now be manufacturing different products. So therefore, there will be industries or factories or manufacturing companies that will be opened, so that there will be more people who will be hired again. There will be more drivers who will be hired again to transport these different products. So therefore, a lot of jobs will be created. So now you see the importance of agriculture, not just that they are giving us food, but also they are serving the country in terms of the nutrition, and also they are serving the country in terms of the income, because there are more people who are now being employed through what? Your agriculture. Yeah? Then we proceed with our lesson. We're looking there at our activity. In our activity, it's a paragraph writing. In a paragraph of approximately 8 lines, discuss. The word say discuss. I emphasize again, discuss. Stay away from your one word. You need to construct a full sentence when the question is saying discuss the importance of agriculture in the South African economy. 4 times 2. What does it mean? In your discussion, you're supposed to have 4 points that will give you how many? 8 marks. So discuss the importance of agriculture in South African economy. I'm going to give you 5 minutes so that you can be able to structure your paragraph, and it's supposed to be on full sentence. Then after 5 minutes, you will be able to do the correction. Looking there at our corrections. So, number 1, the question says discuss, isn't it? So, it provides food to the nation. It's the main point. Remember, as we are discussing and we are putting it on a full sentence, you need to start by the importance of agriculture in the South African economy is that through agriculture or through the raw material that are being produced in the primary sector, it will then provide food to the nation. So that's where you're now going to get the mark, because you have supported, or your answer is in a full sentence. So it provides food to the nation. And then secondly, earner of a foreign exchange. Remember, you cannot just say earner of a foreign exchange, but that's where the mark is. So you need to put it in a sentence. Again, you need to say through the raw material that will be extracted or that will be cropped in the primary sector, which is the agriculture. Those products will then be exported to the different countries. As they are exported to the different countries, will then becomes an earner of a foreign exchange, because we're going to give them the goods, then they will be paying us. So the earner of foreign exchange. So stay away from using such. Remember, in your answers, it's supposed to be in full. Then number 3, contributes to the GDP. You cannot just come and say contribute to the GDP, but how? Remember, we are now preparing for your prelim and we are now preparing for your final exam. So through the different activities or the different industries that will be opened, more people will be employed, meaning more people will be paying or contributing towards tax, which will contribute to the GDP. So now you get the point that contributes to the GDP, but you have discussed, as the question says, discuss. Then number 4, the job creation. Again, you cannot just say job creation and then you expect to get the full mark. You're supposed to indicate how will that job be created. So again, through the industries that will be formulated because of agriculture, there will be many people who will be employed, which means now job creation will be higher. So remember, you need to give a fact, then you give it in a full sentence or you support your statement so that you make sure that you collect all the marks. Then infrastructural development, again, through these industries, the raw material or the products that will be finally be made, or they will need to be transported into different areas. So therefore, in order for them to be able to transport to different areas, it means the infrastructure will be developed. And you also give examples. The infrastructure in terms of the roads, in terms of the railway will be developed. So in that case, you have made sure that you have collected all the maximum. And you did not just give the one-word answers, because if the question is saying discuss, please make sure that you discuss thoroughly. Remember, there is no limitation. It's saying approximately 8 lines. It can be more, it can be less. Then we're also looking at the industrial development. Again, there is a variety of crops that are being farmed in the agriculture or in the farming industry. So therefore, again, there will be variety or there will be industries that will be developed through these products. So again, you're giving a fact and then you support your answer. Then we're looking at the small scale versus the large scale farming. So this is the type of farming. Remember, through this section, it's either you can get plus or minus 8 marks because they can give you in one word whereby you need to indicate, is it a small scale farming or is it a large scale farming? So they are differentiated into 4. As I'm saying 4, but they are 2 in pair and another 2 in pair. So you will see what I'm talking about. So number 1, we are saying it's the small scale farming. Your small scale farming is the farming on a small plot of land. As the word says, small scale farming. So it's the farming on a small plot of land with a purpose of making a profit. So with the purpose of making what? A profit. But now it's on a small plot. Then secondly, we're looking at they can also be called subsistence farming. Remember I said there are 4 types of farming, but there are 2 in pairs, 2 and 2. So your small scale farming and your subsistence farming are the 2 pair. Then you will have your large scale farming and your commercial farming will be another 2 pair. So what happens is when someone is dealing on a small scale farming, they are farming in a small plot of land or a piece of land with the aim or with the purpose of making a profit. Remember, then they can also be called a subsistence farming. So what is a subsistence farming now? It's someone who is farming for his or her family. Then after that, he or she can sell the surplus, but the main priority is to provide or is to feed his or her family. And also, in a small scale farming, they are using the intensive farming. Remember, in our terminology, we had the intensive as well as the extensive farming. We said in the intensive farming, there is a lot of work that has been put in. Why there is a lot of work that is being put in? Because everything is done using their own hands or they are using their manual. Remember, we're saying these are the small scale farming. As you can see, these 2 women, everything that they are doing in that land, they are using a hard labor or their hands. So therefore, there is more work that has been put in as compared to the output because there are no scientific methods that they are using. They are using the old, or I can say the traditional methods. Then they plant a variety of crops, very important. Is the variety of crops. They can have a cabbage, a spinach, a tomato, a carrot, a beetroot, you name them, as long as they are not focusing on one. Why? Because the subsistence farming, remember, they need to provide for their family. They cannot eat cabbage from Monday up until Sunday, so they need to change their menu. So hence they are focusing on the variety of crops. And also they are farming in terms of to make a profit, so they cannot rely on one. What if another customers they want carrots, another customers they want tomatoes? So hence they've got the variety so that they can balance. Remember, your small scale farming is in line with your subsistence farming. But now, where is the difference between the 2? Your small scale, they are farming for profit. Then your subsistence farming, they are farming for their own families. And then after the surplus, they can sell it. And also, they are both using a small plot of land. And they are both planting the variety of crops. So I hope you do get the clarity on there. small scale farming, subsistence farming. Both have they are farming for in a small plot of land, and they are engaged in variety of crops. They're using the intensive farming because there is so much work that has been put in, because everything is done manually, or they are still using traditional methods. Then we're looking at their products are sold locally, very important. Even the small scale farming, the ones who are farming for profit, but now their products are being sold within. And those ones who are subsistence farmers, or who farm for their families first before they can sell, they are also selling it in a local. So it means these people in the small scale farming or in the subsistence farming, they cannot earn a foreign exchange or a foreign income, because they are only selling within. Then we're looking at the large scale farming now. The large scale farming, we are saying, produces the large production. Why large production? Because they're farming for business purposes only. Their main one is to farm for the business, or we're calling them the commercial farming. So remember I said 4, but 2 and 2. So the first two, it's your small scale farming as well as your subsistence farming. Those are in pair. Then your large scale farming and your commercial farming, those are in pair again, because whether you are in a large scale farming or in a commercial farming, but you are strictly farming for the business. Then as we are strictly farming for the business, it also required a large capital, because this is a business, so you need money to start the business. Hence, you can see there in the pictures. And then also, it's extensive farming on a large plot of land. Again, extensive farming, we're talking about there is less work that has been put in. Why? Because most of the work has been done using the machines. So hence you can see in our first picture, there is a machine there that is doing almost everything. Then we're looking at the importance. It's because it provides the employment again. There are people who are being employed to assist that machine. There are people who are being employed in this. As you can see, these are the chickens, and these are the cattle farming. So again, your large scale farming, they are only focusing on one product at a time. Hence, you can see this could be a meal, or this could be a carrot in a large plot of land. And also, if they are only focusing on beef farming, they can have only the cattle. If they are only focusing on the chicken farming, they can also have the chicken only. So they are focusing on one product at a time, and they are farming strictly for the business. What does it mean? It means as they are farming strictly for the business and they are producing a large production, they can be able to export into different countries. So as they're exporting into different countries, they will be able to earn the foreign income. Then we're looking at the differences again, because you need to have the thorough understanding between these two. We're looking at the description, we're looking at the farm size, we're looking in terms of the crops, and we're looking in terms of the market. So your small scale farming, small piece of land is used, and your large scale farming, the large land is used extensively for profit. Extensively, remember, less work is being done because a lot of work is being done using the machine. Then the farm size, larger than subsistence farmer. Subsistence farmer, remember, is the farmer that is farming on his or her backyard. And that person is the priority number one is to farm for the family. Then if there is a surplus, they can then sell it to their neighbors. Then it is larger, but not as large or as huge as in the large scale. So there is larger than subsistence farmer, variety of crops, intensively farmed. Intensively farmed, it means a lot of work again has been put in because they are doing everything using their hands or using their hard labor. And small capital. Why small capital? Because these people, they just need to buy the seeds and that's it. They go to the river to fetch water so that they can come and irrigate their crops. They also use their hands to farm. So there is a small of the capital they just need for the buying of the seed. Then where else in the large scale farming? Huge in size, monoculture, very important because the examiner can ask you what is monoculture. Monoculture, it means you are only focusing on one crop at a time. And large capital. Why large capital? Because you still need to buy the machines, you still need the irrigation system. So there are so many things that you need, hence you need a large capital. Then in terms of the types of crops, remember we said these ones, they are using the variety of crops. So they can have vegetables, they can have flowers, they have chicken. Where else? In the large scale farming, because they are monoculture, they are only focusing on one culture. They can have maize in the large plot or in the huge plot or in the whatever hectares of size in their plot, and they only have the maize. If not maize, they can have the wheat. If not the wheat, they can have the sugar cane or the beef. Why? Because they are in business, so they are thinking for the local as well as the export market. So hence they are only focusing on one end in the large area so that they can be able to make that profit. Then in terms of the market, we said the small scale farming, they are only selling for the local, so the local consumer. So where else in the large scale farming, they are selling in the local as well as in the international. So even if the questions, they can come in any manner or in any how, as long as you understand these two, the description, the farm size, the types of crops, as well as the markets, you will be able to answer any question. Then we're looking at our first activity. Our activity is saying study the photograph below on a small scale farming. So they've already tell you this is a small scale farming. Remember, we've already dealt with it thoroughly. What is a small scale farming and what is a large scale farming, your subsistence farming and your commercial farming. Then you have your intensive farming and your extensive farming. All these six you're supposed to know their difference. So as we are studying the photograph below, and they've already said this is a small scale farming. Again, what do we see now? We see there are people in that plot of land, and they are using their hands. They are manual labor there, and there is a variety of crops that has been planted in that area. So even if you were not given that the photograph below is on a small scale farming, by looking at the picture, you will be able to identify certain things that are there in the picture so that you can be sure that this is a small scale farming. So let us see what questions do we have. The first question, you define the term small scale farming. Secondly, what evidence in the photograph suggests that these are small scale farmers? Then number 3, why can one say that these small scale farmers are farming the land intensively? Then number 4, the profit margin of the farmers in the photograph above will be low. So there is the statement. Explain this statement. The mark allocation there, it's 2 times 2. You know by now 2 times 2, it means you give 2 responses. Then you have a paragraph question. In your paragraph question, outline the problems experienced by the small-scale farmers as seen in the photograph, So the importance of going through the photograph and identify those problems. So 4 times 2 again. I'm going to give you 10 minutes because there is a paragraph question, and then after 10 minutes, we will be able to proceed to the corrections. Right, girls and boys, looking there at our first question, as we're supposed to define what is a small-scale farming. So we are saying it's farming on a small piece of land. Remember, one can even add farming on a small piece of land with the purpose of making a profit. Then we're looking at your question number 2. What evidence in the photograph suggests that these are small-scale farmers? So what we see a small plot of land. That's number 1. Secondly, we see a manual labor, and we've seen a traditional farming method and the variety of crops as well as the lack of infrastructure. So A. Then we're looking at our question number 3. Why can one say these small-scale farmers are farming the land intensively? So they are farming the land intensively because they use the use of a plough, which is the equipment that they are using. There is a lot of work there. They need their powers in order for that land to be farmed. So it is intensively because of the equipment that they are using. Do we call it a plough? Then we're looking at the profit margins of the families of the farmers in the photograph below will be low. Explain why. It will be low because the land that is being farmed is very small. So if the land is very small, also the profit will be small. Then also we're looking at there are many farmers working on a small piece of land. So if there are many farmers working on a small piece of land, it means now they're going to separate again that small profit. Then we're looking at the product they can only sold market in the local market. What does it mean? They can only sell it cheaper. So again, as they are selling it cheaper, it means their profit will also be less. Some product will be used to sustain themselves and their families. Remember, the small-scale farmers, we said they are in line with the subsistence farming. Subsistence farmers, they are farming for their families. So again, they still need to keep some for their families before they can go and sell. So hence, the profit margin will be low. Then we're looking at our question number 5. In a paragraph, you were supposed to outline the problems that are being experienced as we've seen in the picture. Problem number 1, the problems experienced by the small-scale farmers such as we're looking at the using of manual labor. So the using of manual labor is a problem because they are wasting a lot of time, where else this thing can be done by the machine in less than an hour. So you find that for themselves, it's taking them the whole day or even days. Then we're also looking at the limited knowledge of scientific farming methods. Remember, the scientific farming methods are quicker as compared to the traditional one. Then we're also looking at the overuse of land decreases the soil fertility. These people, they don't have any knowledge, so they will be keeping off using the same crops in the same land, and that will be decreasing the soil fertility. Whereas if they were trained and they were using scientific methods, they will know that after some times they need to change into a different crop so that they keep the soil fertility. Then they are also exposed in the weather elements. If it's raining, if there are high temperatures, and even if it's cold, so they are being exposed. Then we're also looking at the physical health of the workers, because they are using more of their powers and they stand in different weather conditions for long hours. So it will also strain their physical health. Then we're going to look at our activity. In our activity, it's saying the types of farming. We have the type A and we have the type B. By now, you're supposed to see that in our photograph A, there is a person there who is who is irrigating with her hands, and there are different crops, and the plot is very small. Where else in picture B, we have the tractors there because there is a large plot of land, and you can see that everything is done scientifically. So by now you're supposed to tell what type of a farming is at A and what type of a farming is practiced at B. So let us see what questions indicate if description matches A or B. Number one, the farming that produces a low yield per hectare. Is it A or is it B? Then secondly, the farming that focuses on food security in local communities. So here the low per hectare. And then the farming that is capital intensive and uses advanced technology. By now, intensive, you're supposed to understand when we're talking about intensive, what are we talking about? So in this one, it's a capital intensive. Then number 4, the farming associated with monoculture. By now you're supposed to know what is monoculture. Then number 5, the farming described as a small scale farming. Your number 6, the products for the home and export markets. Products for the home and export markets. Is it A or is it B? Then your number 7, associated with extensive farming practice. So again, I'm going to give you 7 minutes because there are 7 questions, and then after 7 minutes, we will be able to do the corrections. Girls and boys, I hope we are all done. So looking there at our first question, the farming that produces a low yield per hectare, remember it is A. Why A? Because they are farming in a small plot of land and there is a variety of crops, and also they are selling it for the local markets, so therefore there are low yields per hectare. Then secondly, farming that focuses on food security for local communities. Again, remember these people, they can only sell in the local. So it's A. Then number 3, the farming that is a capital intensive. Capital intensive, it means there is a lot of money that has been put in and uses an advanced technology. As you can see there at B, they are using tractors, and also that is an advanced technology. Where else at A, as you can see there, that the women there is doing everything on manual. Then number 4, farming associated with the monoculture. Remember monoculture, we are saying this is a type of farming where it is only focusing on one product. So mono means one, so hence it is B. Then we're looking at number 5. Number 5, farming describe a small scale farming. So a small scale farming, it is A, variety of crops, a small lot of land, and everything is done manual. Number 6, the products for home and export markets. Remember at B, which is your large scale farming or commercial farming, we said these are the farmers that are strictly farming for business and they sell their products in local as well as in the export markets. Then number 7, associated with extensive farming practices. Extensive, remember, there is less work that has been put in, so therefore it is B, because everything is done using the machines. Then we're looking at the main products that are produced in South Africa. These ones, they are for home markets. We've got the maize or the corn, and we've got the dairy products. We've got the tea, we've got the cotton, as well as your sunflower seed that is used for vegetable oil, and we've got the soya beans that is used for protein supplements. Then we've got sugar. So I've indicated sugar as red because sugar is the product that will be asked this year. Then vegetables as well as your beef. Then for the export market again, so these are the products that is from South Africa to different countries. We've got the citrus. Remember the citrus we're talking about, your oranges, it's part of your citrus fruits, the ones that are more vital in winter. Then we're talking about sugar. Sugar again is being farmed in South Africa, and then it gets to be exported into different countries. And we're looking at grapes, we're looking at maize, we're looking at fruit juice, we're looking at wool, as well as deciduous fruits, fruits such as your peach, as well as your dairy products. So again, sugar is highlighted in red because this year the exam will be based on sugar cane, because we get sugar from sugar cane. Then we're looking at the sugarcane farming. Remember, this is the products that will be asked this year. So here we have the map of South Africa. With that map of South Africa, we're having the location or the areas where the sugarcane is being farmed. As you can notice there, that sugarcane is only found on the eastern part of South Africa, as well as in our neighboring countries, but the ones that are on the eastern side. So from the outside of the country, we have Maputo, as well as your Swaziland. Then inside the country, the ones that are on the eastern side, KwaZulu-Natal is the major sugarcane farmer, as well as Mpumalanga. So these are the only areas where sugarcane is found. So from these areas, it will then be becoming a South African product that will be able to be exported to different countries. Then we're looking at the factors that are favoring sugarcane in South Africa. So number one, we said the sugarcane is being planted or is being farmed on the eastern side of the South Africa. And also on the eastern side of the South Africa, the climate there, it is wet. So therefore, it is able to have or to revive that sugarcane. So general high summer rainfall along the eastern coast of South Africa, which is your Eastern Cape, KwaZulu-Natal, and Mpumalanga. So these are the factors that are favoring because of its location. The area there is mostly wet, so therefore the sugarcane is able to grow very well. And it's not that cold, so therefore it's receiving a more or it's receiving enough sunlight for it to grow well. Then the coastal low-lying area, especially on the Lowveld. Again, the coastal low-lying areas are the conditions they are the ones that favoring the sugarcane. So hence it is more productive in those areas. Then we're looking at the tropical as well as the subtropical climate along the east coast. Hence I've said the eastern part is the one that receives the most rainfall in South Africa, and it is also not cold. So therefore the conditions there are conducive for the sugarcane to grow well. And they also receive the rainfall throughout the year. Then the lack of frost, again, as I've said, those areas in the eastern part, there is always warmer. So it means it is also conducive for the sugarcane to grow well because it is warmer. Then we also have the sugarcane is harvested by hand or mechanically, and there is an abundance of cheap labor in the areas as it is grown. So another benefit or another factor is it because it is easy to harvest the sugarcane and it doesn't require any skill. So whether you are semi-skilled or you are skilled labor, you can qualify to work in terms of the harvesting. So those are the factors. And also the fertility of soil, as we've said, looking at the part in the eastern part because it is warmer and it is wetter because it receives rainfall throughout the year. So therefore there is a fertility of soil. Then we're looking at the factors that are hindering. So the factors that are hindering, these are the things that will make a sugarcane plantation to be very poor. So poor replanting. Remember, once they are done harvesting, they need to replant again. So poor replanting rate as well as the weeds contributes to the reduced yield. So if they replant in a incorrect way, it means in their next yield it will be reduced or it will be lower. Remember, we said in the factors that are favoring the abundance of cheap labor, so it means anyone can be employed to work there, whether he or she has the skill. So when it comes to the replanting, it also becoming a hindering factor if it was done incorrectly. Then we're looking at the low levels of education at to poor crop subsidiary practice amongst the small-scale farmers. Most of the people who are farming sugarcane, they've never been properly trained. They are just doing it as they've seen someone doing it, or they just want to be involved in the sugarcane farming, but without any proper education. So again, it will lead into a poor farming, which will then hinder with their yield. Then we're also looking at the high cost of the inputs. So before that sugarcane is ready to become processed as sugar, they still need to buy fertilizers. They still need to buy some chemicals in order for the sugarcane to grow well. So there is so much cost that is being put in. Then we're looking at the adjustment of the minimum wage. Remember, now the government has regulated that each and every worker is supposed to be paid a minimum wage, which becomes a problem because of the profits now when it comes to the farmers, because they need to pay higher wages. It means their profit becomes adjusted or it becomes low. Then also the rising cost of the sugarcane growing in in KwaZulu-Natal mostly. So as the costs are increasing, it means again it is taking from their profits, so it becomes a hindering factor, as well as the price of sugar, which tends to increase the consumer price index. So again, the sugar is very high. Most of the people, maybe they are not now affording to buy sugar. So now the sugar in the market, it will then be bought slowly, which will also reduce the profit of the sugarcane farmers. Then we're looking at the lack of capital injection from the financial institution. So you have the plot of land and you want to engage in farming, because there are no loans that are specifically for sugarcane farming. You might find that you can lack funds for you to start that farming, so it becomes a problem again. Hence, it is under the hindering factors. Then we're looking at the climate change. There are high temperatures now, or there are very low temperatures. The extreme climate events, such as droughts or even the floods. So it now disturbs the farming of the sugarcane. Then we're looking at the sugar mills, which produces waste water, as well as the emission, as well as the solid waste. So this one, it also contributes towards the pollution. So becomes an air pollution or water pollution. So because of the sugar mills. Then we're looking at the contribution of sugarcane in the economy. So number one is the employment. Remember, we said there are people who are being employed in the sugarcane, be it we have a skill or you are semi-skilled, but because it caters for both of the skilled as well as the semi-skilled, so there is a high employment. And also, the sugarcane is not only sold on the market, but it's also sold as an export market. So therefore, the foreign currency is earned through sugarcane. Then we're looking at the high revenue base because of the foreign income again that we are gaining. It means there will be more money that will be coming in the country, and the GDP will also be growing. And we're looking at the skills development. There are people who are hired there in the sugarcane, and then they are trained to use a certain equipment or the tractors or certain machines. So therefore, those people, they are gaining the skills. So there is a skilled development in terms of the sugarcane. So that what it is contributing into our South African economy. Then we're going to look at our activity. In our activity, you study the figure below on sugarcane production and you answer the questions that follow. So you have your small scale farmers with 13%, you have sugar estates with 12%, then we have the large scale growers with 75%, then we have the extract. I'm going to give you 5 minutes to read the extract on your own, and then after 5 minutes, we will then be displaying the questions so that you can be able to answer. So your 5 minutes to read the extract start now. I believe we are all done with the extract. So you've got the 2 questions there. The first one, you name the 3 dominant provinces responsible for the majority of sugarcane production in South Africa. Then secondly, it's a paragraph question. In a paragraph of approximately 8 lines, suggest 4 reasons why small-scale sugarcane farmers contribute less to sugarcane production as compared to the large-scale farmers. 4 times 2. So I'm going to give you 6 minutes, and then after 6 minutes, we will be able to do the corrections. Girls and boys, I believe we are all done and ready for the solutions. So number 1, you are supposed to give the 3 dominant provinces that are responsible for the majority of sugarcane production in South Africa. We have your Eastern Cape, your KwaZulu-Natal, as well as your Mpumalanga. Then secondly, you're supposed to give in a paragraph question why the small-scale sugarcane farmers contribute less as to the sugarcane production as compared to the large-scale farmers. So number 1, the poor replanting rates. Remember we said these people who are not trained and they are hired there, if they are doing it incorrectly, it will also affect the next yield. Then we're looking at the low levels of education. Again, no one is training them. They are just doing based on their knowledge. So they are low levels of education or training in terms of the sugarcane. The high cost of inputs, remember, they still need to buy fertilizers. They still need to buy chemicals. So if they're a small-scale farmer, they do not have a capital, so therefore they will end up not buying these, and then they will have the small yield. Then we're looking at the upward adjustment in the minimum wage. Again, that small-scale farmer is supposed to pay the workers the minimum wage, and it is taking on his or her profit. Then the lack of capital injection again from the financial institution. Those people, they don't have a business plans, or their businesses are not registered, so therefore they do not qualify for the loans so that they can also produce the large yield as it is produced in the large scale farmer. Then the extreme climate events, we're looking there at your drought as well as at your floods. So they do not have insurance. Should it be this year their area is being hit by the drought, it will be on their cost because now their sugarcane will not grow very well, so they will end up contributing less. Be it that year has been hit by the floods, which means now their sugarcane will be washed away. They do not have any insurances, so it will be their loss. Then we're looking at the food security and food insecurity. What is the difference between the two? Your food security is when people have enough food to meet their needs. They have enough food to meet their needs for a healthy and productive life. What does it mean? Each and every person, from breakfast, lunch, supper, in a country, they have food that is enough and it is healthy. Then in food insecurity is when not all the people have enough food to meet their needs for a healthy as well as productive life. So if in a country we have people who do not have anything to eat, then the country is in a state of food insecurity. Remember, I cannot say for breakfast you have an apple, for lunch you will have just a plain pap, and then for supper you'll have just a glass of water. Then I said there is food security because that food is not balanced, number one, and it's not enough, and it will not be a healthy and productive for life. So therefore, the country will be in a state of food insecurity. So food security is when everyone in the country have access to healthy and nutritious food at all time. Then when there is vice versa, not everyone is having access to food that is healthy and enough. Now the country is in a food insecurity. We're looking at the importance of the food security, why it is important for the country to be in the state of food security. The food, it needs to be available on the nation as well as on the household level. What does it mean? It means now the people will be healthy and there will be less people who are visiting the health institution. So the country will spend less money when it comes to medication. Then the food must be accessible as well as sustainable basis to household and to at the national level. You might find that if the country is not able to produce food, so even if people are working, but they cannot be able to buy food because there is no food in the country or there is no one who is working. So the importance of food security again is to have food that is accessible. Is it there in the supermarket, and is it sustainable? Are people able to buy? Or maybe there is food in the supermarket but the prices are so expensive that people, they cannot afford to buy. Then we're also looking at the food must be affordable, as I'm saying that if people are having access to food, it means even their healthy lifestyle, it will be better. As they are now healthy, it means there will be less people who are sick. So therefore, if they cannot afford food, they will end up buying any cheap food because they just want to fill in their stomach, regardless that it is healthy or not, if it is very expensive. And food supply must be reliable and produced under safety regulations. That is why, again, we must make sure that the farmers in the country, they are being taken care of, or they are being given the incentives, or they are being given some sort of a loan so that the food production can be generated. And also the food, the production of this food is supposed to be under some safety as well as regulations so that it can guide that there are no other circumstances that will be included in that food, so that we make sure that we have healthy food. Because you can have food, but now if there are no safety and rules and regulations, people will end up doing anything they want, and then even poison can end up in our food, then we get sick again. So hence it is important that it's supposed to be produced under safety as well as regulations. Then we're looking at the food must be distributed so that country is food secure in all areas. Hence the importance of having a better infrastructure. Are the roads in place that the trucks as well as the vans will be able to transport food in different areas so that as the country as a whole, we have access to food. Then we're looking at the factors influencing food security in South Africa. Number one, the poor farming methods. Remember, if there are poor farming methods, it means even the yield will be lower. Then it will hinder our food production. So the poor farming methods, which could lead into erosion of soil. So if they are farming that land incorrectly, it will result into erosion and also into infertility of soil. Then we're looking at the blotches of the insects. Remember again, they still need to take care that there are no insects that is going to destroy that crops that is being planted. Then we're also looking at the land reform. You will remember in settlement geography, we have talked about the land reform, that people are supposed to be given land so that they can be able to farm. So if they are given land and we have more farmers, it means now we will have more food as a country. Then we're looking at the climate change again in terms of the drought as well as the floods. Then we're looking at the food prices that increases daily. A lot of people now, they are unable to buy into a maximum food that they want because of the food prices. So they're ending up taking any cheap food that they can come across so that as long as they have eaten, because the prices are too high. Then we're looking at the lack of fertile soil. Again, with an incorrect method that has been used, it will lead into a soil being infertile. Then we're looking at the importance of food security in South Africa. Remember, as we have mentioned, that it provides food for each and every household. And also, it will be, if it's accessible, it will make sure that each and every person is healthy. And then again, we're looking at, we said the important number one is that food, it's supposed to be affordable. Make sure as the government or as the governor that the food prices are not as high so that people can be able to afford. Again, the food supply is supposed to be reliable. We cannot have the farmers that are now not functioning. So it's supposed to be reliable. Then we're looking at the food that must be distributed across the country. We cannot have the province where they will say we do not have food. So therefore, it's supposed to balance across the 9 provinces. Then we're looking at our homework. In our homework for today, you're supposed to define the following terms. It's just the definition. What is food security? What is food insecurity? What is extensive farming? And what is intensive farming? As easy as that. So to summarize on what we have learned so far, we have learned about the contribution of agriculture to the South African economy. We have learned about the small-scale farming as well as the large-scale farming. We have looked into the main products produced for home markets as well as the export markets. And lastly, we have looked into food security as well as its significance. Then we have come to an end of our lesson for today. Hopefully you have enjoyed the lesson, but most of all, I hope you have learned. Thank you and stay tuned for our next lesson.